Well, hey, everybody, welcome to another show, Jim Hall, You Ought to Know, and there it is. That's a sign for the Route 66 Museum and Visitor Center here in Victorville along D Street. Route 66 is where we are for this great event. Car show out here. All kinds of classic cars going to be out here today. You're going to learn a little bit about the Route 66 Museum. Yes, we've been here before, but it's a great day. Sun is out, a lot of great cars. In fact, everybody in shirt sleeves. I got my Route 66 shirt on. It says Tucumcari over here. Route 66 right here through the great town of Victorville, right here at our own backyard. And we're here simply because it's a great day for a car show. The Route 66 Museum back here, and because you ought to know. Stay with us. Cars coming up. Welcome back, everybody. Jim Hall, You Ought to Know, at Route 66 Museum. This is the third year we've been down here. This celebration happens each year this time. And, Paul, let's introduce you first off.
Hi, I'm Paul Chess. I'm one of the volunteers here at the museum. I'm also serving on the board of directors.
And the board of directors consists of how many people here at this museum?
Currently, we have 10 people. We're authorized for 15. We're looking for some good board members, and we set the policy for the museum. All volunteers.
And the museum has a policy, like what type of policies does the museum have here that have to be adhered to?
Well, we just want to make sure that the community has a good time here at the museum. We don't charge admission. We want to encourage them to come in to learn a little bit about the history of Route 66. And we just try to make them feel at home here, and that's the board's job to make sure everything runs smoothly. We're a small business, but we're a nonprofit. And we don't charge any money at the door, so we have to depend upon the community at large to support us.
Now, they do support you because they come in. You do have a storefront here. There are shirts available, a lot of Route 66 memorabilia, a lot of things people may remember or things that have been brought back, and so that they can certainly come in and get their favorite items here, can't they?
Absolutely. The community, and I mean the worldwide community, has been supporting us for 15 years. So we've done that without admission. And the way we do it, as you said, is our gift shop. Donations from people who enjoy the museum, where we get very, very little support from the government.
And when you talk about support, you have people that have traveled this route, because I've met them over the past few years. We've been down here doing the show, and they come from, my gosh, Europe. Europeans love Route 66. What is the love affection there?
I don't know. This summer we've had just an influx of tourists like we did last year because of the exchange rate, and it's not only Europe. If you look at our world map, you'll see the pins cover Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Brazil, and Europe. You can't even see Europe on the map. There's so many pins. I've asked some couples, and they're younger people that come in. I say, why are you here? What brings you to? How do you know about Route 66? What brings you to, to this museum or to the road? And two of the main answers I get, one I just love, is we love America.
Well, and they do. People want to see America. They want to see Hollywood. They want to see New York and all those things. But there's an affinity with Route 66. What is the tie to Route 66?
And that's the other answer I'm trying to get out of them. And they say, well, some say, well, it's America. It's the Wild West. It's the open spaces. It's just we have to come. They just don't. Someone just don't know why they have to be on Route 66. It just spread around the world, and it's not the TV show. Most of the people I talk to in Europe or the farm don't know Marty Miller and Route 66. That means nothing to them. They just know, some know Grapes of Wrath, but somehow the mystique of America and the West and the open spaces and all tying into Route 66 just brings them here.
Does Route 66 hold that that meaning of hard times, good times, expansion, family, bringing the East to the West and the West back to the East and so forth. There's got to be some connection there that ties everybody together.
Yeah. I think with the Americans, the older generation, when they come in here, I've seen people cry. They remember when they were kids how their parents took them across the country because of the drought in Oklahoma back in the 40s, 30s, 40s. A lot of them were in the service, or their parents were in the service, and there was a lot of travel during the Second World War between the East Coast and West Coast, and a lot of them ended up on the West Coast. So they remember coming here, and they remember the icons along the road, the blue whale, the Burma-shaped sign, the two-headed snake, and all these memories are now in our generation, the boomer, the baby boomer generation. They remember that when they were 10, 12 years old, sitting in the back seat of a Studebaker, and they come in here and say, "Oh my God," it brings back memories.
And you talk about that, the boomers now in their 50s, 60s, and 70s and so forth, and they remember coming west as kids. And if they grew up on the West Coast, they remember going east on 66 to visit family from Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, maybe traveling through Kansas and Oklahoma and so forth. But when you head back east or you're coming west, I mean, Route 66 is synonymous.
Right, and it was there for them to travel, like you say, both directions. Unfortunately, now, if you saw the movie Cars a few years ago, the interstates took away a lot of that. So the younger generation, they don't have that feeling anymore. They get in the car and they watch their DVD, and next thing you know, they're in Chicago. But we have today the old-timers, or the people who really know what it's about, will take the 2 or 3 weeks and either travel from Chicago to L.A. or from L.A. to Chicago, and they want to hit every piece of the road.
Well, and they get a chance to, because we're on Route 66 in this museum on D Street here in Victorville, and this is Old Route 66, and this is the Route 66 Museum. And here we have what type of displays? What can people see here?
We have a lot of memorabilia, a lot of photographs especially of California Route 66. We have a Victorville room which showed what Victorville was many years ago. We have some of the things you would have seen years ago, like I mentioned before, the blue whale. We have pictures of those. For artifacts, people are always donating things that they've either seen along the road and were acquired, or they had when they were kids, and they say, "Hey, I was an old kid, and I remember this old iron my mother had in the closet," and she'll bring it in. A lot of people bring in the old telephones, the old 8-tracks, and it brings back the nostalgia.
All right, I got to ask you real quick before we run. We're going to go see some classic cars today, because there's a big car show here for the anniversary.
That is correct. This is our 15th anniversary. We have almost 200 cars out there. We have some good food, good entertainment, and some extremely unique vehicles, and a lot of great car people.
All right, Paul, thank you for talking with us and for being with us right here on this particular show. And you know the routine. You know why we're here, right? Simply because you ought to know. Stay with us, everybody. More from the Route 66 Museum coming up. Welcome back, everybody. Jim Hall. You ought to know at the 15th anniversary of the Route 66 Museum here in Victorville, California. Nice to have you along, and you're taking a look here at a
1917 Model T.
17 Model T. How do you know so much about this car?
I've owned it for probably about 20, 25 years.
Yeah, somebody in the museum flagged us down and said, you got to talk to the owner. So you're the owner. Let's introduce you.
My name is Robin LaBarge. We've lived here in the high desert for about 32 years.
And where did you get this vehicle from originally?
Well, we bought it from a gentleman that my husband used to work with. He wanted to get a newer one. He wanted to buy a 1919.
Mm-hmm.
And
wanted to upgrade.
He wanted to upgrade, and he wanted to get rid of the 17. So my husband came home for almost a year, and we go till I finally gave in, and I says, okay, you can get it.
And you did. And what did you do with it originally when you bought it?
We drove it. We drove it around, all around town. Everything's pretty much original as far as the engine and stuff goes on. He's repaired a few things here and there, but we drove it around. We took it to car shows. We just had a ball with it.
So what made you decide to get it here? It's indoors in the museum, displayed. We've seen it here quite some time. So why in the museum? You wanted to share this with people, I guess.
Well, I wanted to share it with people, and I think it's, part of history, and I think people need to know about cars like this. You don't see too many of them on the road. and it's a great place to store it. They're welcome to it. I mean, they love it here. But I think people need to know about old cars like this because you don't see things like this too often.
Now, when you took this vehicle, running when you got it, and you went out on the road, what's the farthest distance you took the car to?
Probably Oak Hills in the middle of rain and snow, and we had to push it a couple times to get it going, but we've had a ball with it. We've had a ball. We've taken it to parades. And
Now, you've driven the car.
no, I tried, and I gave it back to my husband.
Power steering.
There's too many things you have to think about. I mean, you use the foot pedals on it.
Take a look in here, Jared. Come in here and look at the floorboard. First off, you've got on the steering wheel. It is just a steering wheel, but there's more that goes on there. What do you have to do?
Well, there's for reverse and forward, you have to use the pedals and also the top. These little things.
Yep, that little thingy there is more like that helps engage the clutch.
Right. Yeah, I'm not really sure how it worked. Again, I tried it for about 15 minutes, and I had enough.
All right. So you weren't one of the drivers of it, but you certainly enjoyed the car.
Oh, we had a ball.
Yeah. And you you put it in the museum. Now, how long is it here for?
For as long as they want it.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think it needs to be in a place where people need to know about history.
Well, and it's certainly a lot of history to this. I mean, people know if they watch the old movies, certainly depicted Tom Joad and the family in the Grapes of Wrath through the Dust Bowl days, but even long before that, people coming west to find a new life when times were a lot better before the Depression years. And people came out and used these types of vehicles. This obviously a pickup truck, so I'm guessing probably produce and some other things were carried.
One of the first farm trucks that they had. I guess that's pretty much what they call this Model T farm truck. They used it for, yeah, you're right, produce delivery on the farm.
Now, you bought this locally?
Yes, we did. Yes. The gentleman lived in Hesperia.
Everybody always says, I'll talk to some of the classic car folks when we go outside and see some classic cars, and the first thing they say, is this a California car? Because they didn't want the salt from the rust from back east.
Right. And I believe this has always been California. It's always been in California. Yeah, he drove it around for a few years, and he just wanted to upgrade, so that's how we got it.
Well, the upgrade is nice, and we look right here, and it says C&R Mining. Now, is that something that was just put on there, or?
That is something my husband decided to do. It's our initials, and established 1917, which is the year of the car.
There we know the
And
cars.
so that's how we came about that logo on there.
All right. Any other classic cars in the family?
We have a Studebaker, 50 Studebaker, 53 Studebaker, and a 65 Ford F100.
All right. Well, you do have some collectible vehicles there.
I have a few.
Is this one of your favorites?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we have had so much fun in this car.
All right.
We took it out Christmas shopping one year and decided to get a tree, so we had a tree hanging out the back, and we had presents that looked like the old-fashioned Christmas.
Well, thank you for having this for us to display today, but for more than that, for so many people to be able to come in the museum and see it. Thanks for talking with us.
Oh, well, thank you for having me.
All right, don't go anywhere, everybody. We're going to be right back. We're going to go outside and see some more classic cars, simply because you ought to know. Stay with us. More from the museum yet to come. Welcome back, everybody. Jim Hall, you ought to know, for the 15th anniversary of the Route 66 Museum. And yes, we're on Route 66 right here in our own backyard, downtown Victorville, just off D Street. And taking a look right here, beautiful. Oh, this is one of the, take a look at it. It's been here numerous years, right? Introduce yourself.
I'm Steve Rushes. This is my wife, Gail.
Gail,
Hello,
welcome
hello.
to the show.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
the car that we're looking at right here is actually what?
1967 El Camino.
You
got me.
pay the taxes and the license each year. You must know what you. 66.
67.
67. So this is the El Camino, and this car was actually manufactured only for a number of years, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, I think 68 did change.
Yeah.
And there was only, I looked up on the internet, there's only like a little over 5,000 of them that were made at the
Yeah,
time.
there wasn't very many, and I remember that. And the 67 El Camino, and it had a rival because Ford put one out too, didn't they?
Yeah, the Ranchero.
Yeah, they had the Ranchero, and this is the El Camino. Now this one, describe this one to us and what you've done with it. How long have you had it, first off?
I've had it about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And I left it pretty well stocked, except it has a new 383 stroker engine in it.
Okay.
About 450 horsepower round.
So you
there.
got some power here because the El Camino is not that heavy of a vehicle, is it?
No, it's not. And they came stock usually with a 327.
Now, I got to ask, do you drive the car?
No. If he would put some power steering in it, I may try that.
That's right. They didn't have power steering normally as stock an item
No, and she has her own little 66 Mustang.
with power steering.
Yeah.
With most
66
definitely.
Mustang, what color?
It's almost the same color blue.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little beauty.
Now, did you find this one this blue, or did you repaint it to this
No,
one?
this is the way I found it, and this is it's called Marina Blue, which was a stock color at the time.
For 67 that year.
Yes.
All right. Now, you've done the engine. What else did you have to do to it when you got the vehicle?
Well, I put another transmission in it. It has a 700R transmission in it, automatic transmission.
Now, you come from what area then? Where do you live?
Apple Valley.
Okay, so you're local here in the desert.
Oh, yes.
And so do you do other car shows or events?
Oh, yes.
And out of the area, in the area, or where do you go?
Well, I mainly stay in the area, but the club is Cruisin' Buddies that I belong to, and there's like 100 members, and we go all over the place, Nevada, down L.A., all over for shows.
Yeah, so you guys do regular events then. So you do travels, and what do you guys do? Book hotels that you guys stay in and do those sort of things?
Yes, a lot of times it's 2 or 3 nights in a hotel or motel.
One of your favorite places to go with the car club, what do you do? Favorite place to go?
Favorite place? You know, I haven't been that many places with him, but I think if I had a choice, it would be up north, like Carmel, or where was that last one, honey?
Oh, up by the beach, I can't remember, hon.
So you like the ocean side.
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Laughlin is a popular place for the car
Very
clubs.
popular, yeah. A lot of them go there once a year.
Now, a lot of places here in the high desert area, people are familiar. They have regular nights that they have cruises or where people will go. Where are some of those places?
Well, one is Farmer Boys in Victorville, and then there's Tom's off of Bear Valley Road, and the Grind down in Apple Valley, coffee shop. There's several places. We meet every Saturday morning at the Grind around 6:30, all different clubs, and then we all go to breakfast.
Now, there used to be one down in Huntington Beach that I went to a number of years ago. I don't know if you ever heard about that one at Magnolia, and I think it was at Magnolia and MacArthur, and it was an impromptu thing at a donut shop. And it ended up to where they were taking up blocks and blocks each morning. They would meet at 5 a.m. on Saturday mornings and disperse roughly around 8:30 in the morning. But it got so big that they had to have police out there to direct traffic.
I'm not familiar with that. Some of the other guys might be, but I'm not familiar with it.
That was a big one. Now, when you guys do those sort of things, and I heard another place, there's a place that just opened, Frankie's Diner off the freeway over there.
Yes, They just had a kind of an open house not too long ago there. We haven't been there yet. But we plan to go and see if we like the food,
All right. So you're going to have this one cruising, and do you take the other car out? Do you get yours out?
Not very often because I'm with him. So
Now, why the 66? Is that something you wanted?
that's I had one years and years ago when they first came out. I had a convertible, and down the way I had to get rid of it.
All right.
And I always wanted one again. This is a coupe. It's not a convertible.
Well, I'm in the same boat. We have a 66 at home as well, and that's my wife's car because she had to have what she grew up with. So
There you go.
she had that one. So did you ever have the El Camino back in 60?
No, I had a 58 Chevy with a 348 tri-power. That was my hot rod.
Well, the old 58 Chevy right out of American Graffiti.
Yeah, that's right. And it was the same color, too.
All right. Thank you so much for talking with us. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Nice meeting you. Nice meeting you. And thanks for displaying this beautiful 67 El Camino. Beautiful car out here. And we're glad you've joined us. Stick around. We're going to be back to wrap it up right here from the 15th anniversary Route 66 Museum, simply because you ought to know. More yet to come. from the 15th anniversary. That's going to wrap it up at the Route 66 Museum right here on D Street in Victorville, California, right on Route 66. Caden's had a good time. He's watched all the trains down here. He's loved the trains coming by. I love the classic cars and the history of Route 66 and what it all means to family, friends, and, of course, travel around the country. We've got our Route 66 shirts on. You've got your shirt on. Now it's lunchtime, everybody, and we're going to enjoy all the classic cars with all our friends right here at the Route 66 Museum. We want to thank you for joining us on every show. And you can go to our website, www.yououghtaknowtv.com. That's yououghtaknowtv.com. And we want to say thank you for joining us. Check us out on the web simply because you ought to know. See you next time, everybody.